AskReddit by Alaska Stiletto. Redditors who have died and come back to life. What did you see? My dad's heart stopped when he had a heart attack and he had to be brought back to life. He kept the paper copy of the heart monitor which shows he flatlined. He said he felt an overwhelming sensation of peace, like nothing he had felt before. I almost drowned, and I felt the same thing. Immense peace for some seconds. This is the feeling. Not really the question, but I have had my two grandfathers pass away recently. Both on their deathbed have said their mothers were there to take them. My mom just passed and one of the last things she said was that she was with her mom who urged her to come quickly. I had surgical complications in 2010 that caused a great deal of blood loss. As a result, I had extremely low blood pressure and could barely stay awake. I remember feeling like I was surrounded by loved ones who had passed. They were in a circle around me and I knew they were there to guide me onwards. I told them I was not ready to go because my kids needed me and I came back. My nurse later said she was afraid she'd find me dead every time she came into the room. It took months and blood transfusions, but I recovered. The same thing happened to my mom. She had complications during and after my birth. She said she saw a white light that was warm and peaceful, but she didn't want to go towards it because she had me to look after. My dad died for a couple minutes around 2015. He said he was driving his truck on the freeway, no traffic, just cruising. He came to when he heard one of the doctors calling his name. When he passed away 5 years ago, he was left brain dead. I told him it was okay to go and to just drive his truck. Thank you for sharing this. It's kind of beautiful. I watched my dad die when I was a teenager. I wish I had the awareness to say something to him like you did. Well done. Black void. Peaceful. No body, but felt as if I was floating on my back in the ocean. Lots of waves. I knew I died, but knew everything would be okay. Was there maybe 20-30 seconds, but felt like a few minutes. Then I jolted alive. Edited to @ I've never been in an isolation tank, but I think that the experience would be similar. Ever since I haven't been scared of death, but I'm still terrified by the means of it. This. A weightless void outside of time and space. No jolt though, more of a I think therefore I am followed by seeking out senses. I died twice and woke up from a medically induced coma almost immediately after being brought back to life the second time. It very much felt like making the choice to return. This thread really makes me feel relief as I am fighting cancer now but don't know if I'll make it. I'm not scared of dying but I am sad thinking of leaving my 3 young kids behind. I'm only 39 and my youngest is still 10. My oldest is 16. It's really sad for everyone now. Hopefully I can die peacefully and show my family everything is going to be alright. I really hope that you make it. Your words reveal the kind of person whose presence will enlighten the lives and education of your kids. Mostly noise. Heard everything. Darkness. Time stopped. You fought that Balrog back to the shadows. This thread is wild. The variety of responses is fascinating. Excellent question, OP. It comes up every so often. If you search up on this subreddit you can look back at the years to find a lot more experiences. Always interesting. Same with the paranormal experiences threads. Posts like this were actually what AskReddit used to be like when I first started using Reddit. I would exclusively browse this sub and just read different stories and anecdotes people would tell. Unfortunately over the years it's just become close-ended questions, memes, virtue signaling politics, and penthouse forum. My sister died and said it was extremely peaceful. She said it was very loud like a train station and lots of talking and she was stuck at this area that was like a curtain with lots of beautiful colors. Colors that you don't see in real life according to her. A man told her he was sorry, but she had to go back as it wasn't a time. I had a really similar experience, except I was in an endless garden with flowers that were colors I have never seen before. It was quiet and peaceful, and a woman in a dress looked at me, shook her head, and just said not yet. As I was coming back, it was extremely loud, like everyone in the world was trying to talk all at once. It was all very disorienting, but it changed my perspective on life. I was in a grey fog with a girl who looked a lot like a young version of my grandmother, who was still alive, but dressed like a pioneer in the 1800s. She didn't say anything but kept pulling me towards an opening in the wall. I kept refusing to go because I was so tired. I finally got tired of her nagging and went, and that's when I came to. I had bled out during a C-section and my heart could not beat without blood. They had to deliver the baby, so up the bleeders refill me with blood before they could restart my heart, so, like, at least 12 minutes gone. That's incredible. I'm glad you made it. I had an heart surgery with near-death experience, for me at least. Well, the possibility that those effects are caused by morphine is also there. I just saw black and nothing else, but it was warm and I had such inner peace. It's weird, as I sometimes still think about it and wish this feeling of being so light and free again. A lot of people are saying the same about the peace. That's crazy. More of a near-death experience. I was electrocuted. I felt like I was in a deep hole looking straight up in the sky. My life flashed before me. Felt sad for my family, but I had a deep sense of peace. I don't want to overstep, but perhaps you should look into groups like the Electroshock Survivors group. If you still find you're having issues, it's really good to find others that went through similar things. My spouse was dead for a couple of minutes one miserable night. She maintains that she saw nothing, but only heard people talking about her like through a wall. The only thing she remembers for absolute certain was begging an ER nurse that she didn't want to die. She's quite alive and well today. Damn. If you don't mind, what happened? My grandmother, who none of us ever knew, she died in 1930. She told me to go back. I was in a coma for 2 weeks. I pass out from seizures, low blood pressure, and one time I was apparently off for a while. Sometimes I stop breathing when it happens. One time I heard my granduncle that had passed away about 11 years earlier telling me it's not time, you have to go back. Like others say, there's a very peaceful feeling that comes over you, an acceptance. I have a near-death one. My grandmother in Mexico is old and she was in the hospital getting treated for her dementia. We were with her and she was not remembering anything. Then out of nowhere she looks at the door window and stares. She tells the door in Spanish, "No, not me. Not yet. Get the girl in the next room instead." I'm not going. Next thing you know, there's a code in the next room and the girl died sometime later. We didn't know who were in the rooms around us. We think she saw Lamut, essentially the Grim Reaper in Mexican culture. And then she was back to her dementia self. Crazy. Dude. That is insane. My mom said she was floating above her body and looking down at it. I hear this a lot. Deathbed visitations is another one. My wife saw her dad, and he said, "Come and join me." She said, "Nope." I did see a white light, and then I was on my old bed and the sun was shining through the window. I felt very at peace, but something clicked in my brain that it wasn't real. I woke up on the floor and the teacher had resuscitated me. She wasn't a naturally pretty woman, but when I woke up I remember everything being bathed in kind of a golden light, and in that moment I thought she was an angel. She was, if not only in that she resuscitated you. I always get into these comments way too late. But I'll tell it regardless. I have sick sinus syndrome. That means my heart gets out of sync and stop beating. Then my body convulses and my heart starts again and it looks like a seizure. When I go to the hospital after, no test reveals what's actually happening. But then one Saturday I felt dizzy again and my girlfriend drove me to the hospital and I flatlined on the hospital bed a couple more times, and they realized that my heart was stopping. Now I have a pacemaker. Now, what does it feel like when I was dead for a few minutes at a time? It was just black. I have no memory of it at all. In fact, it was very easy to do. I always say dying is very easy, but coming back is very difficult. Because coming back is when all the blood rushes back to your brain. And it's like having 1,000 dreams at once. It's very overwhelming. And usually when I come back I am screaming because it is so terrifying. I don't recommend it. But being dead? Easiest thing you can do. When I had my near-death experience, I had awful delusions and hallucinations. I can see why some people really believe they've seen hell. I see it as just my consciousness breaking down toward the end, and showing me my fears. I never actually died, but I was basically dead on an operating table. It felt evil and full of fear. I wish I got those ones where it's peaceful, and I see relatives. I was in straight up fear the whole time, and still can't place the timeline or what I actually saw. I don't know how long it lasted or when it began or stopped. Username doesn't check out. I haven't had an NDE, but I was an ER nurse, flight nurse for a decade. I've been present for many deaths. Let me say I don't believe in the supernatural. I'm an atheist, but I'll swear till my dying day that I've seen the angel of death twice hovering over a patient during a code. Probably exhaustion and lack of food because we rarely got a chance to take any kind of break. But I tell you, twice I've seen the angel of death in a trauma room and he had nodded at me. Not Karen, but clothed in black with a face like any person you'd see walking down the street. Never seen it since I stopped trauma nursing. And really don't want to again for a while, but I've got this feeling I'll get that nod again, but he'll be over me nodding at another nurse. Not me, but someone I know as a kid was gone for a bit during surgery. He said he saw a car driving outside carrying a coffin with signs that it was some high-profile politician, who was actually alive at the moment. He came to, told his parents and the doctors, but no one believed him. 2 weeks later, that politician died and was carried in the same car he saw on the same street, just outside the hospital. So, I guess he saw the future while briefly dead? This is so wild. Space. Like a tunnel made of space. Not in space, mind you, made of space. There were lights flashing by, but I couldn't focus on them. Then someone told me I wasn't supposed to be able to be there. I came rushing back to my physical body. I don't have a story, but it's just some thoughts. I hope that's okay. My dad is about to die of cancer and he has really been suffering. I hope so much that as he passes he will see something beautiful and feel peace, just like a lot of you described. I just really wonder, do we really see the afterlife, or is it maybe some kind of biological process that makes you see those visions? The most recent episode of the Arlogies podcast is an interview with the leading expert in near-death experiences. It was a fascinating listen and you'll definitely get some answers as to what people often see. Check it out. https://podcast.apple.com/us/podcasts/arlogies-with-ali-ward/ID 12788155517 I100063845875. I've read Dr. Grayson's book, After. It's a fascinating read, and I felt like he presented the topic very objectively.